If you don't know anything about Indonesia, well, don't be sad. Because apparently no one does. I mean, 95% of the world's population, and probably 100% of the population of Australia, thinks that Bali is a country, when it's in fact located here, inside the country of Indonesia. So if you're part of the 95% who do not know where this country is, or what it's even about, I'm here to save your day. By the end of this video, you will be an absolute expert. In fact, you'll have so much knowledge that if you happen to be blindfolded, shoved in a helicopter, parachuted down, still blindfolded, landed safely, removing your blindfold and seeing this, you'll have even more knowledge than this guy. So let's leave this intro that I only made to increase the length of the video and jump into actually learning about the country. Let's find out just how you know you're in Indonesia. Alright, so where do we start? One thing that's as Indonesian as it gets is the never-ending numbers of scooters. Seriously, they are everywhere, and they're used for pretty much everything. Need to move your entire family, plus groceries and your pet? Well, no problem, just hop on a scooter. Other things that would give away your location are things such as the beautiful weather, the cute wildlife, the perfectly balanced traffic, and a completely logical way to laugh compared to the rest of the world. Walk, 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 walk. Now, on a more serious note, Indonesia is actually a massive country, which makes it kind of odd to me that it's so unforgettable and unmentioned across the world. It's the home to over 275 million people, making it the fourth largest population of the world, a fact that's hard to overlook. The nation sits in Southeast Asia, between the Pacific and the Indian Ocean, right on the equator. And because of the position of the country, it appears smaller on the map than it actually is. In fact, Indonesia is wider than the US. And for all Americans watching this, as you like to compare the size of things in terms of football fields, that would be roughly 46,363 fields. You're welcome, America. Being on the equator makes the climate very hot, as you can imagine. But something that makes Indonesia even warmer is the fact that it sits right on top of the so-called Ring of Fire. Now, what's that, you wonder? Well, it's an area around the Pacific Ocean where about 70% of the entire world's volcanoes are located, and where about 90% of all earthquakes occur. So as you can imagine, it's a great place to build a home. Okay, it might not be the safest place, but what they lack in safety, they make up in other areas. You see, the volcanoes might be dangerous, but they also make the land extremely fertile. All the eruptions since the beginning of time have brought a lot of minerals to the land. And now you can basically throw an avocado seed in your backyard, kick back, and wait for an unlimited supply of avocados. This fertile climate has also made it possible for Indonesia to have the second most biodiversity out of any country on Earth. And there's more species of mammals here than anywhere else on the planet. Two of them are actually very famous and can only be found here in Indonesia. I'm talking about the real-life dragon, the Komodo dragon, as well as the red ape, the orangutan. The country is made up of over 17,000 islands, giving them the title the official largest archipelago nation in the world. Although I know at least one guy who'd like a recount on this. Recount islands! No! Now with all these islands and all these people, you think that the population would be spread out, right? Well, wrong. About half of the population live on the same island, which also happens to be the most populated island in the world, the island of Java. This island, as you can see, isn't really that big. And if we compare it to the US state of California, the state is actually about 3 times bigger. Yet when we add the population, well, it's easy to understand why Java is one of the most densely populated places in the world. And maybe, just maybe, is this the reason why the capital of the country, Jakarta, is physically sinking. Look, I don't have proof of this, alright? But I mean, if you put enough weight in one place, eventually the ground will give in. Also, they're building a new capital over here, so, adding 1 plus 1 equals science. Now, besides Java, there's 4 more of what you call main islands. Sumatra, Borneo, or Kalimantan as the locals call it, Sulawesi, and Papua. Together they make up for about 93% of the total population. But that doesn't make the thousands of other islands insignificant. Rather the opposite, actually. You see, Indonesia is a very diverse country. With over 1,300 ethnic groups spread out over the islands, there's a ton of different cultures and traditions. But Indonesia has embraced this diversity full on, and their national motto is Unity in Diversity. symbolizing just how the local differences is what actually makes them strong together. But it's not just cultures that are diverse in Indonesia, it's also languages. In total, there's over 700 languages and dialects, which makes Indonesian sort of an easy language to learn, but at the same time extremely hard. And how does that make sense, you wonder? Well, Indonesian, or Bahasa Indonesia, is the official language of the country, and it's a language used by the government, they teach it in schools, and is used in most commercial scenarios. However, it's not very used in everyday conversation, as most people use some form of local dialect or variation, meaning the language might be easy to learn grammatically, but super complicated to speak since it changes based on where you are in the country. And one of these 700 languages might come as a bit of surprise to you, as the language I'm thinking of is Dutch. You know, the language spoken in the Netherlands. Now, it's not like it's an official language or anything, but it's spoken in some regions of the country. And the language has lived here in some regions since the Dutch ruled the country for hundreds of years until World War II, when the Japanese took over the area. Now, whether you're visiting Indonesia in real life, either by traveling here or getting dropped blindfolded from a helicopter, or you're visiting virtually, there are a few things that can help you out when locating your whereabouts. But if you're watching this and you think, I don't need help to know where I'm at, well, then I challenge you to click the link in the description. It's a completely free-to-play GeoGuessr map that tests your skills in Indonesia. So try it out and post your score in the comments. Although if you do need some help figuring out the basics, let's move forward with that. Now, the easiest way is probably to look around and see if you find a flag of any kind. And if you find this one, well, you know you're in Indonesia. Simple as that. This country flag consists of two stripes, a red one at the top and a white one at the bottom. But make sure it's not the other way around, as that would be the flag of Poland. Then there's the traffic. We talked about the scooters and the great traffic situation overall, which kind of narrows it down. But it's also the fact that they drive on the left side of the road, something that tells you that you're probably in Indonesia or one of the neighboring countries like Malaysia or Thailand. Another great thing that probably would be the first thing I search for if I made it safely out of the helicopter is domain names. You know how in every city you're in, there's these signs, billboards or stickers that have these slogans on them, such as, if you're in a jam, contact Sam. And then you have Sam the lawyer's website link. And even though no one probably calls Sam, and this was a totally unnecessary sticker for him to make, it's a really good way to narrow a place down. So here at the end we see .com. But if you want to know you're in Indonesia, look for domain names that ends with .id. So you're in the city, you spotted the traffic on the left side, perhaps you saw a billboard of some sort, but you're still not sure where you are. My next tip for you is the license plate. In Indonesia, they're black with 3 white sections. And even though the license plates are blurry in some really good games, you can still make out what's behind that blurry surface, and that's really helpful to help separate Indonesia from other countries you might think you've ended up in. Now, if you didn't know, the biggest religion in Indonesia is Islam, and by population, Indonesia is actually the biggest Muslim country in the world. But this wasn't always the case though. When the Srivijaya kingdom ruled the seas, both Buddhism and Hinduism spread in the area, and 2 giant temples were built on the island of Java, Borobudur and Prambanan. So if you see these, well, that's a pretty clear indication on your location. But as mentioned, today Indonesia is mostly Muslim. Therefore, many mosques can be found all over the country, which is a good clue when you're trying to figure out where you are. Now, this next one might be something that's a bit more on the extreme side, but it will definitely help you narrow your location down. Kabupaten. Kabupaten is basically a smaller area in Indonesia. It's not a district, and it's not a city, but a regency. And each province is split up into multiple kabupatens, and all in all there's over 400 of them. So if you manage to understand that you're actually in Indonesia, learning all the kabupaten names is the best way to help narrow your location down to a smaller area inside the country. Exploring and learning about the world is such a fun thing to do. And if you ever want to explore the world without leaving your couch, you should give GeoGuessr a try. It's the ultimate way to get lost, and trust me, getting lost in Indonesia is half the fun. Use the link in the description and try it for free today.